Welcome back to Mik'd Up. We're brought to you by Sterling Automotive. We talked a little bit about the recruiting to start the show. We talked about it this morning on the Jordy Collada show. We talked to Billy Embody this morning about what he should expect throughout the course of the day. It is now at the end of the day, and now we have Shea Dixon on to talk about how the class shook out. Was there any surprises, and what is going to happen tomorrow? Because that is the biggest question. Apparently, there's a little chatter around the internet that Desmond Ricks is thinking about not coming to LSU, and I know the LSU faithful on the internet is probably they're being really calm and acting really logical about this. So Shea, thanks for joining us, man, and long day for you. I appreciate you taking the time tonight because I'm sure you are running on fumes, coffee and PEDs and all the good stuff. So I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Okay, my sounding good?
Yeah, Lloyd's going to figure it out.
You're
Lloyd's
good.
working.
You're
Lloyd's
good.
working. Make Lloyd work hard. That's good. I like that.
Oh.
Let's get it. All right, what's up, guys?
You tell me, man. What's the deal with this recruiting? So, obviously, the Saints, Jesus Christ.
See?
LSU, I'm right there with you. LSU had 25 commitments that they were expecting to sign. They signed 25. They flip-flopped one. One went to Oregon. One we ended up getting a flip to LSU. How is the staff? How do they feel about the recruiting class and how it shook out? And what do they expect to sign the next 3 or 4 months before the second wave of signees?
Right. I mean, you look at, they addressed a ton of needs. They've got a top 10 class. It's all the things you want, just kind of at a fundamental level of you want it to be highly rated in the sense that you've got a bunch of talented players, but also addressing needs. They did that. There's more needs to address, and Brian Kelly talked about that in his press conference today. He said the DB room and the D-line room are two that they're going to continue to pursue guys at, whether at high school level, but probably more so in the portal. I'd say, though, as you mentioned, going into today, they knew pretty much what was going to happen with the announcements, that the 23, 24 guys they have were all going to be locked in. That Dalen Austin was going to flip to Oregon, but that they would potentially, and they felt very good about adding Kamorian Pimpton, the Vanderbilt tight end, who really committed to LSU over Texas and Vandy. Number 6 tight end in the country. I think this is a guy we're going to be talking about a ton for years to come. He's not getting anywhere near the recognition his signing day flip should be getting, I don't think. But then you look at kind of where they're at overall. Isaac Smith, the safety out of Mississippi, was someone that they were in it for, but they didn't feel like they were going to get. He stayed home at Mississippi State, and that puts all eyes then on tomorrow, which I think is really the only domino left to drop in terms of guys LSU's really in on, which is Desmond Ricks. And I think we opened up the week with LSU feeling good, and Bama kind of, and Florida mods all were saying that kind of sources pointed to LSU as being the team to be entering this final stretch. Now it seems LSU's confidence is waning. So it'll be worth watching. I just feel like this is, in my opinion, not going to go LSU's direction.
No, don't tell me that, because this morning, you said that earlier in the week, this morning we woke up, everybody thought that Desmond Ricks was going to come to LSU.
What happened?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. What is the deal? Like, what do you think went down? Did Alabama say, okay, we're going to just come up off of our wallet and figure this thing out, or what?
I mean, I don't know for sure, but certainly NIL has been speculated as being a piece of it. And LSU felt like everything they were doing on that front as well was good to go. You could say maybe that, yeah, sure, okay, did team number 2 come in and offer something even more enticing? Or did team 2 just get closer to what team number 1 was offering, or get around it to where now you're factoring in other things, and NIL is not playing as big of a role. All things are about even. So I don't think we'll know the nuances of that. The reality is, Mike, you know this is a college signee, NIL or not, 99% of the time, you're not going to get a guy unless he wants to be there. Right. And at the end of the day, if all things are even and he's not choosing you, he probably doesn't want to be there as badly as you might have thought he was.
Well, you say that, but you saw what happened from last year to this year, whenever an Aaron Anderson and the Shaz Preston, where there's guys, and even you could go over to A&M and find some of the where it's guys that obviously where LSU leans or we're interested in LSU, and then they hit the portal the next year. I feel like Desmond Ricks could be in that camp because, I mean, what we talk about all week coming up to the signing day is that LSU was the last one to have their initial push for Desmond Ricks, and then you see Colin Hurley put out a tweet. You see him on his visit. Is this something where the visit didn't go as expected, or is it this Alabama pulling a Patrick Surtain?
I think it's just Alabama coming in and doing what Alabama does, which is sign 7 5-stars. I mean, they've signed the number 1 recruiting class 8 or 9 of the last 10 years. Maybe Georgia did once, and then obviously A&M did, and it made Bama very upset. They turned around this year to get 7 5-stars. They've got arguably the greatest coach that's ever coached the game of college football, and they've won a lot. I mean, what they can pitch that every kid who's graduated from there in the span of the last 10 or 12 years has left for the national championship. So the reality is when you put all those things together with a guy like Saban who's got it rolling, even if you're Georgia or Ohio State, they're coming in and taking guys that you want. It's just, it just stings a lot more because they're in the West with you.
Yeah.
The reality is everybody's going through this, having to face them then every year, and the history of Saban going back, being at LSU and going back into Louisiana and taking kids over time. This wouldn't fit with Ricks, but I think that's why LSU fans kind of start to freak out a lot more when Bama takes a guy. When in reality, they take guys from everybody. That's how you finish.
No, that's a very good point. It just hits very close to home to all the LSU fans down here. I understand that. Now, going into this recruiting process or this season of recruiting, one of the there's 2 big areas of concern, right? The defensive line and the secondary. Losing Desmond Ricks. Let's just say hypothetically, because you said that if you had to put a pick on it, you don't think that we're going to get him anymore. If we lose Desmond Ricks, what does the secondary class look like without him? Is it as strong? Obviously not as strong, but is it still a very strong class? And are there other potential transfer guys that we can add to the class in the next couple months?
I think everybody's watching Denver Harris. Who knows which way this will go? Obviously, if you're LSU, you recruited him out of high school. He's already visited. He's met with Brian Kelly. So there's obvious real interest in staying in the SEC and playing in a school that you were pretty interested in coming out of Houston a year ago. He was a midseason All-American. So that's about as good as you could ask for if everything can work out for you. There'll be other portal guys that hit that they'll take a look at. And look, their class, here's the reality of the D-line class and the DB class. They were need positions for you. At DB a week ago, you were celebrating. You got Toviano, you popped him, massive ad, can play some corner for you, can play safety, just versatile. And then you go down the list. Kylan Jackson, one of the state's best players at Zachary, stays home. You go into Texas at DeGuy, one of the biggest schools in Texas, and get Ryan Gates when Texas and OU and all these other schools were after him. Ashton Stamps out of Rummel, one of the best players in the state. You go to Vegas and get Jeremiah Hughes, a 4-star corner, who had offers from pretty much everybody in college football. So I may even be leaving out a guy. I mean, they signed a really big class of defensive back. The reality was, we're hoping to get Desmond Ricks, right? You're hoping to get Desmond Ricks, and if it doesn't work out, that stings. That's a loss. And more so for me, you had a commitment from Dale in Austin for 6 months, and he flips on signing day to Oregon. Now, they sensed that a flip could be coming, but still, he was in the boat. That was a guy that you wish could come in as a top 100 player and help you out. The defensive line is the same way. Look, Deshaun Womack might be one of the best players in the country. He's a 5-star and edge rusher. He's B.J. Ojulari's replacement. Jackson Howard is one of the more versatile players in the country. Play either side of the ball, NFL bloodlines, 4-star. You go up to Minnesota to get him. College-ready size. Dylan Carpenter, an in-state kid out of Santa Monica that they senior year eval and went after, and clearly looks like that's going to be a nice steal for them late in the game. He's a 4-star. So we've got some solid players, but you also lost your only D-tackle commitment in Duron Reed to Auburn, which everybody presumes to be NIL related, given he committed to them and they didn't have a head coach at the time. And this was after it was made clear Cadillac was not the head coach anymore.
Right.
He commits. Then Joshua Mickens stays home when he gets an Ohio State offer coming out of the Midwest, which isn't a surprise, right? Like Ohio State's a big offer. If it's close to home, you get on board. But there was a point in time where LSU thought they had both those guys. So you now have to turn around and go into the portal, and we've seen them do it at defensive tackle already. I mean, defensive line. They've taken a defensive tackle, an edge guy, and just a D lineman, all last night. Yeah, all three of them happened last night. So they're addressing D-line. They'll continue to, and I expect the same will happen with defensive back.
Okay, yeah, well, I wanted to stick with defensive back for a little bit. Do you think that the Denver Harris news or maybe the Denver Harris recruitment swayed Desmond Ricks at all? And if you don't get a Denver Harris, which it feels like LSU is in the lead for, is there anybody else that you're looking for, including like the cornerback from North Carolina, who's a 5-star that entered the portal? Like, where did they start looking around? Because you obviously have to add at least 1 or 2 more for the defensive back room.
Yeah, they'll look into the portal beyond Denver Harris, whether they get him or not, I think. You just continue to see who is the best available player out there. I don't know who. Look, we're going to see more guys into the portal after the bowl game. That's the reality.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I have an eye on, is what players pop in from there, because LSU can use more help at the defensive back spot. Lloyd, what was the first part of your question? What were you saying?
Well, it was a dumb part because you said did Denver Harris sway?
Well, yeah, no, I don't think it's dumb.
No. I don't think he did. No, I don't. Because if Desmond Ricks is going a much deeper quarterback room, both on roster and guys coming in. So there's no way he could be
competition.
Right.
He's going to have the least amount of competition to LSU. Denver Harris or not. They don't have any defensive backs.
That's a very good point. That's what I said before. Alabama kind of in that spot too, I think. But before I want to ask you about we call him Baby Megatron over here, Pemberton, or is it not Pemberton? It's Pimpton. Get it right, Mikey. Before I ask about him, I want to talk to you. I want to ask you about everybody wants to talk about the new guys, right? Oh, who we're going to get in new, who we're going to have in the secondary room. We had a few guys come in last year that were young that are going to be sophomores. What about the guys that are returning in the secondary and the defensive backfield? Obviously you have LaTerrence Wells, who came in. He's a pretty highly touted guy. Like some of these guys that are already in the room, that have been in this program for a year, what are they looking like? Are they developing, or is the coaching staff not as happy with how they've developed over the course of the last year and a half?
No, I think that's something to watch, right? Because at corner, LaTerrence Welsh was a really good player in high school. He was kind of just hampered by injuries. He stayed healthy all this year, played a lot of special teams. So you really hope in this offseason he makes that jump from year 1 to year 2, which happens for pretty much everybody in a program like LSU. So you want to see that from him. Jordan Allen, who's one of the better players at LCA coming out of the Acadiana area, is a guy at nickel that they like a good bit. So he'll probably be playing behind Sage Ryan or whomever else. But he's got some versatility, a really solid football player. I think he'll end up being a guy they're pretty happy to have on the roster. And then you look in more into the safety room, like Matthew Langlois there. He was banged up a good bit this year, but you can still develop him into somebody. But the numbers for me, at least, are still so low at corner that's where you have to see LaTerrence Welsh do something. Other than that, you're only bringing back Sevyn Banks, who's missed back-to-back seasons with season-ending injuries. So just getting back on the field for him will be, an adjustment, right? I mean, you haven't played live football really in 2 years. That's tough to do. So because of that, you either need to have these freshmen be ready right away, or you need to go out there in the portal and get you a couple guys that you feel good about plugging in and developing the guys beyond that as those guys kind of bridge the gap, a lot like what happened this year.
Yep. Look, I appreciate your time. I know you're exhausted and you're tired. Only a couple more questions for you, then you can go take a big, long nap, and you can call it a day.
Chill.
Yeah, chill. Just.
I know what that. Yeah, I know what that means.
Just chill. How big of a flip? I don't think people are really. I don't think they understand the type of talent that Pimpton is. The tight end transfer or the tight end recruit that we got, you flipped him from Vandy. I don't think that he was going to end up at Vandy. Obviously, he had a lot of bigger schools that have come onto him late. But explain how talented he is and how kind of under the radar he is and how big of a get that was. I know you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I don't think people realize how good he is.
Yeah, I mean, he went to the worst thing that probably happened for Vandy here is that he transferred to North Crowley as a senior in the DFW area, because he went to a team that was actually really good and threw the football a lot, and he just exploded. I mean, 1,000-yard type guy. 17 to 20 touchdowns. They had like 18 touchdowns in a year. But Mikey, he's 6'6", 228, wingspan out of this world, has probably the best catch radius of any tight end in this class. Brian Kelly talked about it today. Think of all the tight ends Brian Kelly had when he was at Notre Dame. Like, LSU fans would give an arm and a leg for that. I mean, it was tight end after tight end that went up pro, and those guys are in the NFL. Then think of when he was at Cincinnati and Travis Kelce and guys like that were guys that he didn't put in the NFL. Yep. And he said that he doesn't know if he's seen a guy with a combination of just size, like being 6'6", 225, then having the athletic ability as it translates to football that Pimpton has. So this is a guy that, like, this is what you wanted Eric Gilbert to be. This kid is going to be the real deal. And we know that they want to play multiple tight ends, so he's going to be getting onto the field. He's a good inline blocker. He's actually further along with that than most would probably think for just somebody who's deemed as a pass-catching receiver. And it's a total mismatch. A really athletic 6'6", 230-pounder is not somebody that many people can match up with.
Yeah, especially in high school, especially when he's that athletic and that
6'6", 215 in high school.
That athletic and that mobile at that age, right? When you're that young, you're that big. Sometimes you don't really have that coordination. He's got all of it, obviously. You mentioned Eric Gilbert. Obviously, the news comes out today that he puts himself back into the transfer portal. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on around him. You know, do you know where he's going to end up? Have you heard any rumblings? Or it's just more of those things, hey, you know what? I'm over it. I'm just going to put that one on the back burner and just not even think about it.
I don't think anybody needs to worry about where he's
not
going
to
shoot.
That's a very, 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 very good point.
Wait, did you say LSU's not in the mix?
No, I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he's coming back to LSU.
I don't know. He's practiced the first time, so.
Yeah.
Still might have a bag here.
Do you have?
He'll probably just announce for LSU. Not
do you have a prediction on how many more, if there's any guys that they're going to sign out of the high school class in the next signing period, or are they about done in high school?
I guess you have to see who, like Nicholas Holmes, obviously out there. He swing for the hook if you can get to the campus. But I think right now what they do is you look at everybody, you their board, and then you look at who's left, and you decide, hey, look, do we want to go after this guy or that guy? Jalen Davis Robinson just transferred out. It was a guy they added like that a year ago late in the game. They've added a number of Louisiana kids that way late in signing day times where it paid off in a big way. Foster Morrow and Cushionberry, all those types. So I guess it depends. They'll know a lot more after the bowl because then you'll see who else goes in the portal, who's for sure going pro, you know who you signed now, and then you can kind of feel out maybe what you need between the portal and then the final high school kids. So just, if they have any portal, we'll get a couple.
Lloyd?
Shea, obviously a lot going on with the Ricks situation. Is this the wildest you've seen the Ponderosa get for you in your what, first year at On 3?
I've been on, it's not the wildest message board's ever gotten on me, but I just started in September On 3, so it's
On 3, not in his lifetime.
It's wild. I think Stewie's in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah, dude.
No doubt.
But Big Daddy Donk, Hunter Fournette, they're all in there. There's no doubt.
No doubt. Okay, before I let you go, your prediction on, is it 50-50 Desmond Ricks? Is it 70-30 Alabama? Is it 60-40 LSU?
Alabama.
What is it? Like, is it 90-10, 100%? What is your where is your heart on this situation going in tomorrow so people can either prepare themselves or
start the melt?
Yeah.
About Bama or Florida. I don't think it's going to be LSU. Everyone I've talked to that was confident before on the LSU end, and for good reasons, now has no confidence. So clearly folks know something that we all don't know publicly, and that's where things stand. So I think it's Bama, but then again, I have no idea. It could just be tricking Bama, and he goes to Florida, so who knows?
Well, if you want more recruiting news throughout the course of the year, Lloyd and Shea have a show. I'm not calling you that. I'm not saying that. I've been told not to say that to you. I said you don't like it. So Shea Dixon and Lloyd Courtney have a power hour.
Lloyd the Power. Fuck it, I'll
Shea
take
the
it.
Power. Every Wednesday? Is it every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday from 10 to 11.
Except this week it's Tuesday, but every other Wednesday.
Every other Wednesday from 10 to 11. Look, beautiful digital media. You can move around, do whatever you need to do. As long as you get some content out there.
Yeah.
It's a beauty. Shea, man, I appreciate it. Go chill. Get some sleep. Relax. Maybe not get some sleep, but just chill. Just chill. And hopefully there's a nice surprise tomorrow. If not, great signing
real quick, I just have one more for you because how does LSU or how does Alabama do this almost consistently every year, whether it be to LSU or somebody else, when it feels like when you have a guy like Brian Kelly, I could understand how it happened early, but now it feels like LSU has more of a plan in place, and you can kind of, with the alignment talk and the process that LSU was going through, how do they still manage to do this? What's the sell? Because it feels like LSU was kind of, it used to be, it felt like they were a couple steps behind. Now it feels like they're neck and neck in terms of what's going to happen over the next 4 years.
That's where we disagree. I wouldn't say they're neck and neck, would you? I mean, they sure have a lot more national championships and playoff appearances.
That's old.
what?
Is it?
Yeah.
What? How old?
Well, LSU beat them this year.
Oh, my gosh. What have you done for me lately, guy? It's unbelievable.
But that's what I'm saying. I could understand when it happened, whenever it was Les Miles and Ed Orgeron. It's like you can't really trust.
No, I think the reality, Orgeron's a great recruiter, and Les recruited a lot of good people. I think the reality is what you're seeing is it's not that you can't trust staffs. You can't trust 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and 18-year-olds. What's when pen hits paper? You can't trust them.
At the end of the day,
you can't predict what they're going to do that accurately.
No doubt. At the end of the day, it's still Nick Saban, and they still have a ton of national championships, and they've been the class of college football for the last 15 years. So, it sucks. That's the reality of it. Hopefully it's over relatively soon in the next few years, but we'll see. Shea, man.
And it's
go ahead.
like it's just like old LSU baseball, right? It's like, and how does LSU go out and get number 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 and 10 and Mikey Mahtook and Chad Jones and Jared Mitchell? Because they've won a lot of championships.
Right.
There's the best program in there with the best lineage of coaches.
Right.
And they have all the best players.
No doubt. And that's a great example, and it's kind of.
So be happy for your baseball team then. If you're mad about football, then be happy about it.
Yeah, go look at the baseball team. The baseball team's in a good spot, in a great spot. I love it. It's good for the show. Good content for the show moving forward in the spring.
Shay, look how cute your dog looks in the back.
She's exhausted, but Lundy did make an appearance.
She was looking out the window earlier. That's her job. She always is just kind of making sure, doing a little bit of road
Well,
patrol.
she knows my back's turned to the windows, so someone's got to be watching it.
That's it. That's the best sidekick you got. Dude, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for your time. Thanks for giving us your insight, and have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you, guys. Headed out.
All right,
Chill
dude.
session begins now.
Absolutely. Hey, dude, I appreciate you hopping on with us, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
All right.
See you guys.
Later.